Long before their children are even out of diapers, many parents start to worry about the cost of college. And when that fateful day arrives, some people are forced to take drastic measures, some even clearing out their retirement funds. So today, we are going to look at alternatives. We have Michael Martinez, the president of the Pension Group, with us. And Michael, I was just telling you that this is a topic close to my heart with a kid not out of diapers yet. But this is something I think every parent worries about.
Oh, we do. It's something that we always want to provide more than what our parents did, and do things along those lines. I've heard so many different opinions. CPAs, that I know in the past, they say, the first year pay 75%, the second year pay 50%, 25%, and the last year the kid's on it,
on their own.
On their own. So I always like to say, it's always good when you have a kid that's involved or has skin in the game, where mom and dad aren't always footing the entire bill. Which is important because, they're not going to be a 6-year senior at OSU. They're going to get done in 4 years.
A little incentive.
Yeah, a little incentive.
Yeah.
So it's not a free ride the entire way. That's always important to have those discussions as your kids start becoming teenagers. This isn't necessarily going to be a free ride. I don't want to necessarily sacrifice, our retirement in order just to pay for your college. And oftentimes we see sometimes that happens with people. They'll put together, the 529 plans out there. They start off at a very young age, but parents forget, we got to start taking care of our own retirement so that we can retire one day, not just to cover the, college education for Johnny or Susie, from that standpoint.
So we have to tell them options. The 529 plan, how does that work?
Well, 529 plan, pretty much every state has a 529 plan. The one that they have here, obviously in Ohio, is through BlackRock. Years ago, it used to be through another provider, but BlackRock took over it. And again, you're limited in investment options. They do a lot of target date funds, if you will. So the younger I know you have a son.
Yep.
So, with your son, you could basically be more aggressive now. And then as they get closer and closer to retirement, to college, it becomes more conservative. So there's not that huge fluctuation, just like we talk about in retirement planning. You got to be more conservative. So
same thing.
Yeah, same thing. So the same adage holds true with that. But with 529 plans, if you want to do the one here in Ohio, if you do your $2,000 a year, there is a benefit. You get a $2,000 Ohio tax deduction if you do that. Just like you do with a 401k, you get a deduction for what you put if you're doing pre-tax. So that's an advantage. You can also get grandparents to pitch in. Here's the account. Grandma,
Sure.
and grandpa, if they want to pay for that or help out. And we've had a few clients throughout the years set up 529 plans for their grandchildren, which is good. From that perspective. But one of the catches, when you look at 529 plans, what happens if Johnny or Susie doesn't decide to go to college?
Right.
Okay. Saw a great article. The 3 to 4 million jobs out there that don't need a college education.
They are there.
There's trades, trade schools. There's other things kids can do. Not everyone needs to be a doctor or a lawyer, from that standpoint. But when you look at 529 plans, if you're setting this up and Johnny or Susie doesn't go to college, well, then all of a sudden, is there the little gotcha moment? You got a 10% penalty if you decide to recapture that money on your own, which can be a significant penalty, from that standpoint. And then you also get in another situation. Let's say you got a son or daughter out there that is extremely gifted from an education standpoint. They get a full ride scholarship, or they get a scholarship to university.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you accumulated $100,000, $200,000. Well, what are you going to do with that money? Well, the nice thing is there's a special provision inside 529 plans. If your son or daughter does get a scholarship, you're exempt from that 10% penalty. So that's a nice little buffer to know about, which I don't think a lot of people know about, from that perspective. But again, you have to look at it. Does it always make sense to set up a 529 plan? More people are starting to look at, because one of the concerns I have is a lot of people are starting to sacrifice their own retirement to fund their son and daughter's education. Some people could set up a Roth IRA. When you pull the money out of the Roth, then all of a sudden the money's tax-free.
Perfect.
From that standpoint. And if Johnny or Susie doesn't use all the money, well, guess what? You have that already there for your own retirement. Or better yet, if they don't go to school, you don't have a 10% penalty.
And all of this, you can help people get started. Find the best option for them, of course, to come into the Pension Group. Sit down with one of your advisors, sit down with yourself, and try to find a plan that works for everybody.
It does, and there's no one plan that fits everyone, but if they have an interest, that's obviously why they can set up a time with us to review those options.
All right, we definitely don't want to see anybody put too much risk. We want everybody to have a plan in order. So, Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Robin.